Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Mill 52 workshop. I'm making the spring pocket for the right hand side of the Quorn base right now, and it just occurred to me, sorry I haven't been taking better video of this, but it just occurred to me that I should. As you can see, I've turned the steel down to it's an 1.5 inch diameter, and then I turned this register, a shoulder, at 1 inch, and I checked it against the casting and it fits. And then I've just center drilled, and then I drilled a conventional drill, the 13/32, and now I'm using my flat bottom drill that I talked about before to give it the flat base for the spring pocket. It's a terrible angle here, but here, let me go ahead and complete it. What I did was I used a feeler gauge, a 4/1000 feeler gauge, to line up the end of the flat bottom with the outside of the cutter, and I like set this at 4 thou out, set my depth reading, if you will. So it should be, it's coming around to 0 here in a minute. I'll try to document this a little bit better for you. So lathe on at drilling speed, 70 RPM. All right, and now I'm advancing it here. You can tell it's not even close. Got another revolution or so to go in the hand wheel. So coming up, all right, there's the 0 mark. Let's see. Yeah, that's right at 0. So the edges of the flat bottom are just touching. So now 10 thou. Not much happens because I already drilled this with a conventional drill. So it'll go in a ways. There's only going to be like the last 50 or 60 thousandths. Those edges will cut and make it the flat bottom. So you'll probably be able to hear it. There we go. You can hear it now. You can see the chips, and that's right at 100 thou basically. Alright, so there's 110. It's supposed to be 1/8 of an inch deep. Let me show you what I'm looking at. Okay, so 125 thou is right there, and I normally would have retracted the tool by now, but I wanted to show you. So that's what that looks like. Clear the chips out of the way. There's my little pocket, and it looks pretty good. The center of the regular drill went a little deeper, but it's okay. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything because it's a 3/8 inch drill that's going to the compression spring that's going to be sitting in that pocket there. So the next thing to do, I'll come back. I have a trick in mind. I could put this on a rotary table for drilling the 3 clearance holes, but I have a different trick in mind, so I'm going to try to do that and show you in just I'll bring you back in a second and see if we can drill the through holes for the 440 screws that hold this plate on. So here's the trick I was going to talk about for drilling the 3 holes, the clearance holes for the 440 screws to go into the right side of the casting to hold the spring pocket. Here's the spring pocket. As you can see, I blued the shoulder area, and then I used calipers just to kind of mark off what is an 1/8 inch in from the end. So a 1 1/4 inch bolt circle diameter. And then since I'm using the 3-jaw chuck here and the 3 holes need to be equally spaced, I saw this is not my idea, but it's a handy way to get something done rather than putting it on the rotary table and taking extra hours. So let me show you what I did. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to back off the assembly now, and you'll see the pieces that I got in there. So move that up a little bit, and I've got a piece of wood, plywood across the lathe ways, and just whatever it takes to give you the correct height, and then something that you can repeat. So these are all chunks of steel. Got a flat piece of steel there. Now that's all moved out of the way. Notice that the power to the lathe is off. The last thing you would want to do is to put power on your lathe while you're got the 3. I don't even want to think about what that would be like where you have the jaw blocked. That would be terrible. So I bring this around. I've already done 2 of them. I'm going to try to do it one-handed. I tried one thing I'll say, so get it about level. It's a little bit metal height should be a little bit below the level mark. So make sure it's cleared off. I want them all to be the same. You know, this isn't, we're not making a space shuttle or anything, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfectly precise. And there's a little, like I said, that's a clearance hole anyway for the 440. I think it's a number 31 drill that I have in the, that's a Dremel tool. So now I got my stack of spacers back, and I bring the lathe down, you know, with a little bit of force, so I make sure it's kind of locked in there, and it's still in gear, so there's drag there. It's not going to bounce around. And the first one I tried, it's been a while since I did this. I used to do this all the time with aluminum parts with my TEG lathe, and you can see the holder for the Dremel is just an old chunk of aluminum that I have drilled and tapped to hold the nose of the Dremel tool. I think it's a 3/4 10 thread. And I tried the first one, I tried this teeny tiny little center drill. It really didn't help much. So the second one I just did with the actual drill itself. I'm not sure I've ever used that drill before, but you'll see. I start off fairly slow, but I kind of increase the feed and the speed. So here we go. It's all set up to go. Turn the Dremel on. I don't know exactly what speed. I'm going to crank it up just a little bit. There we go. You'll see that when it gets in there, when the cutter gets in there, it bogs into the steel. Again, this is mystery metal steel I'm using. It's a beautiful steel. It's machined very nicely with carbide cutters. And this is another thing I did was I did set the DRO. I set the Z on the DRO. I'm moving it now. So on the very first one, I set it to 0 where it touched, so I can make sure I drill. I let it go easy at first. I know it's not great technique, but so it makes a little pocket and the drill doesn't wander around. Somebody's going to write in and tell me this is terrible technique. I know I wish the Dremel had a lot more torque and would go a lot slower. But it is what it is. So you see how well this works when you take it all apart. And you kind of dump the Quorn. So there you have it. Just a pretty easy way to get the 3 holes drilled. Turn the Dremel off. It's a really good thing I cut the power off to the lathe because I just reached to grab the lathe power handle. Lighting's kind of terrible. You can't see the holes, but the next process is I'll remove the Dremel from the assembly, take my little stacking blocks out of the way, and go ahead and cut this off. And then all I have to do is face the back of it, and then we can test fit it and see how well it fits on the right side. So thanks. I'll keep you posted. So I thought in this segment I'd go ahead and capture the parting off. Just have a teeny bit more to go. I hope it goes as smoothly on the last bit of the cut as the whole thing has been. Don't know what kind of steel this is, but it really it does cut nice. Maybe it's 12L14, I really don't know. But it's just over 1.5 inches, basically 1 9/16 rough, so it cleaned up really nice. And it'll polish up really good. It looks a little perhaps a little rough now because of the lighting in here and the fact that it's got oil on it, but it's really cut beautifully. Usually by now I give up and get the hacksaw out and finish it, but so I hope I'm not jinxing myself by taking a video. But I gotta be honest, I'm not usually successful in parting off something. You'll see how much stick out is on the parting tool when this thing is done. And it just has a little bit more to go. What I've been doing is withdrawing the tool and brushing off all the chips and putting a fresh coat of oil on it as well. Sorry, my camera work is not great. I'm holding the iPhone over the lathe, but someday I'll get a real nice professional setup like A-Bomb or Maddie's Workshop has got. And there we are, so close. You can see the disc is starting to wobble a little bit. But my plan is when this thing falls off, I'll take it off, clean it up, file it up a little bit if needed, and then we'll test fit it, and that'll probably be it for tonight. This is Saturday night of Memorial Day weekend. I spent most of the day doing yard work. It's kind of my annual thing, getting ready for hurricane season. I started up the generator. It ran fine. I put got a new gas can, kind of replaced an old one that was a bit beat up. So got that taken care of today, and then I trimmed some tree limbs that hang over the workshop and along in the backyard here. It's quite a lot, but it worked out pretty well. I have an electric chainsaw on a pole that I bought from Harbor Freight probably 5 or 6 years ago. I think when they first came out, it was about $100, and that thing is fantastic. I've used it for hurricane prep now for several years, and also for cleanup after Hurricane Sally hit us last year. We are down to just a little teeny bit of a wire, basically, that needs to be cut out to finish this. Cut off. I do like these trapezoidal shaped cutoff blades. I need to order some more because this is my last one. They've gotten really expensive, I guess, like everything else has, but they do work very well, so can't complain about that. Alright, where are we? I'm trying not to jab the cutter in too far because I'm kind of afraid. I don't want to. Sometimes you can get your cutter stuck underneath the center point of the work and it jams and breaks, snaps the blade, because these blades are only 3/32 of an inch thick. We are so close. Man, you can see that it is like down to basically just a little wire. Let's go ahead and see. I think we're getting a pretty clean surface. I don't know. I'm excited about this because I don't want to I'd rather just be able to polish up the edge. I didn't leave a lot of material for cleaning off after the parting tool. Oh man, I'm really nervous about. I'm going to go ahead and take it, see if it'll break off in my fingers, and I can just file that last little bit. Just don't want to tempt fate. You can see how much is sticking out of the parting tool. Maybe that's not a lot, but I don't usually have that much sticking out. It's certainly at least 3/4 of an inch, because it can go to the center of the 1.5 inch work. So let me get a little rag here. See what we got. Sorry about the erratic camera work, everybody. Yeah. There we go. What kind of finish do we get? Alright, hot off the presses. That's not bad. That'll polish up real easy. And you can see the 3 holes. They came out looking good. So I'm going to countersink that, clean this up, and we'll try bolting it on. I'll bring you back. That'll be the final segment for tonight. Hello everybody. Here is the kind of the follow-up showing the installed cap. I don't have it tightened down because I was going to take it loose in a second, but I wanted to show you the view. You can see the cap in there barely, and you can see the brass cotter. I need to remove that brass cotter and then split it, and so it'll be in 2 halves so it can clamp. But that worked out really well. Got a nice finish in the bores there. I'm really excited about that. Speaking of nice finishes, this is just the parting tool that gave that finish. I did run a file over it. Oh, sorry about that, folks. I ran a file over it just to kind of remove the rough edges, but it's really nice. And these are size 4 40 thread per inch button head screws that I'm trying to loosen here. This is the second take of this operation. It's funny because I did it just a second ago and knocked my little Allen wrench onto the floor, so I had to start over again. So here we go, but I'm pleased with how this came out, and I'll show you one more thing about what I've got planned. This is Saturday night on Memorial Day weekend here. As I mentioned a moment ago, I spent the better part of the day doing hurricane preparation, because that's something we do. Hurricane season begins for us here in North America in a few days, actually. I did, the trick I showed you in the middle segment about the drilling the holes. It's okay. The holes didn't come perfectly on center. You can see I've actually opened them up and elongated them a little bit just so they would fit the screws. But there's the little shoulder. That's 1/16 of an inch. The blank thickness overall is 1/4 inch. So it's 3/8 shoulder, 1/8 inch, or I'm sorry. It's a 3/16 thickness here, a 1/16 here. The pocket for the spring is an 1/8 inch deep, and then it has the 3 holes. So I will finish this up by polishing that, eventually. not right now. Put it back. I'll put it back together. I'm just glad to have it basically done. It'll clean up fine. Matter of fact, the steel machines so nicely. I'm not worried about it at all. So this is the cap that I was just showing you that I made, and there's the spring that goes inside. My next idea is to make these 3 things in the order that they're shown here. So make the left hand body, they call it, and that'll be, I'm going to use a 7/16 inch 20 thread per inch instead of the British standard. So that one gets machined very similar to this, and I don't know, I'll have to decide. I'm not quite sure I want to use that trick again. It wouldn't be that hard to put the thing in the mill drill or the Bridgeport and use the pitch circle diameter to drill those holes. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure about that. I think I'll make that next. And then the thimble overall, that has the engraved divisions on that, and I've got a trick I've thought up for engraving those divisions. The same thing I used on my Gingrey shaper, and then the actual adjustment screw. That's going to be, it's trickier than it looks because it has springs and ball bearings in it, so that'll be a project. But this will be my next, I don't know, couple of weeks, maybe less than that. Maybe I can knock it all out this weekend. That would be perfect. But That's the next thing I want to do is finish that, and then I'll go back to working on some of the cast iron pieces. So thanks again, everybody. Welcome again to the new subscribers. We picked up a couple this week, and I'm real pleased. Here is the Quorn with the right hand side thing removed, and I will keep you posted.